Cool. We are live here. Guys,
Okay,
we on
fantastic.
air with amazing friend of my friend today, Rahul, and I'm get back. It was a while, like I not invited no one on the LinkedIn to have this morning coffee discussions. And Rahul, so nice to have you here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me and thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and we actually both on the West Coast, as I realized, right? And we,
Yeah, I'm here in Seattle.
yeah, perfect. I'm in San Mateo, and this like is a 8 a.m. guys for us. And why I'm so excited today because we just get in touch with Rahul one day, and I saw actually Rahul your podcast with some video log. You discuss
Yeah.
stuff, and this take my attention, and he was resonating about this interesting topic, like all these crazy AI tools, all the teams running with all these innovations, pushing love to the production, and this as for me was really interesting to get you here. And thank you that you are here, and we just can maybe speak more for our audience about this conflicting interests, etc. But before we start, I just want to drop very quick background, like where you coming from, yeah, what you done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been driving e-commerce product and sort of technology and P&L ownership for the last 11 years. Before that, I spent my first 10 years of my career in a variety of industries, in CPG, in telecom, and in retail banking, before I started with Amazon in 2015. And I've been in e-commerce since then. I came out of Coles, which was my last company. I spent 3.5 years there as a VP of product and tech for marketing technology in Jan of this year to solve a problem that has been fascinating me for the last at least 5 years. And I'm happy to talk about that and more. But this is really what I'm doing right now, which is to build a product that solves for coordination between different point tools.
Perfect. Yeah, this I feel like this all this kind of my LinkedIn streams is all about kind of maximizing value and insight for the audience. And on our backstage, you mentioned this. Amazon is such a huge business, like thousands of the teams, in
Right,
everyone probably competing for one main page, right? To get
right.
some visibility on that page, and tell us just more, like what is like you feel about us, how to solve those kind of. I call this smart tools, dumb coordination. The coordination is killing any business, and I know Bezos
Yeah.
was always very strong about this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I used to lead product on Amazon's homepage, and this is way back in 2019, 2020. And as you would imagine, Amazon's homepage is the most valuable, e-commerce surface in the world. 200 million plus customers. That's the first thing that they see when they type Amazon.com or open the Amazon app, and therefore everybody wants to be there, right? It's a waterfront property, and programs and brands wants to get showcased, and that is also true for Amazon's internal programs, right? So Amazon Prime, Amazon Video,
Conflicting
Amazon
probably with
Music.
the vendor. Sorry, I interrupt you. I mean, I know this actually. My friend, they invented those. The pet product is a pet coop. Is actually smart camera for your pets, and it was
Right.
showcased on Amazon main page. A whole day, I don't. They sold. He said they sold the whole their year warehouse just like in few minutes of be there. Yeah,
Absolutely. I'm not surprised. I've seen that happen to a lot of brands. They come on the homepage and then suddenly see the kind of traffic that really blast through the roof, and then they start to get a lot of traction, and that's
yeah.
one of the
That was
examples of why that surface is so important.
And if I heard you correct, you're saying, okay, imagine we have our kind of our partners, our like product manufacturers that want to be
Right.
mentioned. Then we have
Right.
our internal tools, like internal products, internal stuff, and this is all of them
Absolutely.
want to be on this one small page, which is like size
Exactly.
of the 14-inch screen.
Exactly. And Amazon's own internal programs that I mentioned to you about, right? So Amazon Prime or video or music or pharmacy, like those also want to be there on the homepage for the very same reasons that you talked about for this particular brand of cameras, right? They want to be there for awareness. They want to be there for engaging millions of customers. They want to be there for putting out what they're doing new. For example, maybe Amazon Prime Video launches a new original and they want to promote that on the homepage, right? So if you go to the homepage now, that's what you would see. The first thing you would see sort of that rotating carousel there, where you have a lot of Amazon's own programs being talked about. Now, the problem really was, even though this surface was really important, internally valued at almost $1 billion plus, um, each of them had claimed their own slots, and they had started to build their own optimization models. So, for example, The Amazon Alexa team was optimizing for selling Echo devices, right? So they were
Mhm.
optimizing for how many Echo device units did they sell, right? The Amazon video team was optimizing for getting you to stream on a different surface, a television. Similarly, music was optimizing for getting you to stream on a phone. Amazon Prime, as a loyalty program, was trying to optimize for lifetime value and getting you to engage more long term and creating those habits. The point was, each of these programs were trying to build their own optimization models and trying to win locally within their own slot, within their own program. But the customer was seeing confusing messages, and Amazon was losing money as a result.
Gotcha. Because then, imagine it's very reminds me the pricing focus. Like the CEO wants to get the great price promise, etc. But the
Exactly.
local this team optimizing for margin. That team want to optimize for like just sell out all this old stock, etc. But
Yeah.
what is like? I know it's a very wide question, but Rahul, how to not get lost here? What is like your recipe for the coordination here? Like
No,
because
no,
it's
absolutely, absolutely. Let me take the pricing example that you gave, right? So imagine a customer is browsing for, say, a winter jacket, right, on an e-commerce website, right? And here's what could happen in the next 200 milliseconds, right? Across different systems, across different point tools, none of which know what the other is doing, right? So the price engine might compute that the optimal price for this product based on different signals, based on the margin strategy, based on pricing strategy, etc., say is $190, right? Now, what would happen simultaneously is a promo engine would fire a 20% off site-wide code on that page, right? Without the pricing engine knowing about that, right? A
correct. This
loyalty
very
system,
often happens. This like always
exactly.
bar
A loyalty
20%
system might
from the
say,
basket. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So maybe you're a loyalty customer, and the loyalty system says, "Hey, I'm going to give you a second member discount or a tier member discount of another 10% because you are a wonderful customer. You keep shopping, at my site for more number of times. I want to incentivize you for that, right? And so maybe another 10%, promotion fires up. And there's a category team that decided that saying, hey, I have actually a lot of stock of these products. So I'm going to fire a category level 15% promotion again if somebody wants to buy into this category, right? So what's going to happen is now there are 4 or 5 tools or 5 systems that are fired independently within 200 milliseconds of each other, right? And this winter jacket that the pricing tool recommended should sell for $190 now actually sells for maybe $116, right? So how did that happen, right? So the point is, and below the margin floor, so nobody knows really for 30 to 60 days what happened there until the finance team is going to ask a question of a post-mortem exercise saying, hey, who approved this? The point is nobody approved this, right? Each of those systems independently did exactly what they were designed to do, what they were
Yeah, I
supposed to
would
do in the
say they
moment.
on the tool level, they're right. But in general picture,
100%.
mhm,
Yeah, absolutely. But the point is the pricing sophistication that the pricing tool was able to build in terms of determining what is the most optimal price for this particular product at that particular time for that particular customer, that sophistication is sort of breaking because there are upstream and downstream systems that are firing without the pricing engine knowing about it, that might end up showing a very different price to the customer. So the price the pricing tool wanted to show versus the price the customer actually ended up paying or seeing
is
could be very different.
okay, then as a really interesting, like, but what is like thought process? How you really? I know that you had a very interesting results on Amazon and calls. Like, what like the leadership was listening us today, or how like this should start thinking of? Because yeah, probably the product statement is right now super clean, guys.
Yes,
That you just to summarize what Rahul said, each system individually is probably right. I mean,
yes,
like something you optimize, like your top, someone needs to write off of sales of this stuff, etc., etc. Usually, marketing laning one of more level of complexity, optimizing for live TV on this, etc. This always this retail is very. I always say is very heavy. I don't even understand who is can be more complex than retail because it's like
oh, yeah,
thousands of the
absolutely,
businesses inside the one business. Like you need to
right,
deliver, you need to build, etc., etc. What
exactly.
is like Rahul? You said like Amazon or calls of this world, how they navigating through this? It's very insightful. What the leadership
You
start thinking of.
Absolutely. So one part of that answer is, what I did at Amazon really was to build a coordination layer on top of the homepage that had three aspects to it. It had policy, which is who gets to play and what are the rules of the game. Then there is
Wow.
governance in terms of defining what a campaign means, right? And what an exposure means, and how do we not overexpose the same content to the customer because there's a point of diminishing returns beyond which showing the same content again and again is not going to give you incrementality of revenue or impact, right? And the third is measurement, measuring across the whole funnel, which is driving perceptions, creating behaviors, and driving economic value, right? So that is the coordination that I built at Amazon. And I used to think then that that's a very Amazon specific problem until I came to Coles and I saw a very similar pattern on the buy side of technology. Now, instead of internal programs competing for each other and competing for space, now you have, like the example that we just talked about, you have these different point tools that are firing independently in silos. They are absolutely right in what they're doing because that's what they were trained for, and that's what is intended. But they're not talking to each other in terms of what the customer's end experience is, right? And the point really is having this coordination layer that sits on top of your stack that does not replace anything. We absolutely need those point tools, like you said. We absolutely need a sophisticated pricing engine. We absolutely need the best-in-class search tool to determine what the customer is searching for and to showcase relevant products to the customer. We absolutely need a great promo tool to determine what promotion the customer should get and which promotion should fire at what time. But we also need, in addition to these best-in-class tools, a sort of a conductor, right? So imagine an orchestra where you have the best pianist, the best drummer, the best
Correct.
violinist.
Very nice analogy.
Yeah, if each of them is playing to their own score, then you're going to hear noise, not performance. So you need a conductor, you need a coordination layer that allows each of these best-in-class tools to really work with each other, not against each other, in service of the enterprise goals, right?
Cool. Just again to just I call this right now is very famous word called orchestration. Technically, what you're saying,
Right,
the retail has a group of tools which is brilliant individually.
right,
Then we can start thinking from the main your homepage, the
right.
orchestrator or coordinator, slash coordinator, who first
Mhm.
of all he is actually facing the customer need. He knows the customer,
Right,
and then he triggers what depends on the audience what coming to your store right now, which kind of relevant information to pick up from each tool individually. And then is how, because you're right, those tools, even like on my side, like computer, are usually like missing this kind of information.
Mhm.
Okay, what's customer we are working with, like what is marketing thinking about that, because marketing already prepared some minus X% off on something, and there's like
Right,
this engine completely not aware of that, and it's always back and forth. And what you are saying is really interesting. I mean that having this kind of coordination orchestration engine, or let's say algorithm, what actually solve the kind of filling those kind of missing bucket, a missing
right,
puzzle for all those tools, and then you run the coordination based out of him, and those tools technically compete with him. He needs to decide, okay, in this particular audience, in next 20 milliseconds or next 30 seconds, we will show for those guys who's in New York right now more kind of water protected stuff because a huge raining is coming, etc. Rather than California guys, we'll get it like very simple maybe example, but this
right.
like just to give our audience the sense that you can have a brilliant tools for each kind of individual need, but you need those horror manager that can really orchestrate this. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. No, what you said as an example is perfect. The only one clarification I want to do is, we use different terms like integration or orchestration that are more commonly used in the e-commerce or retail stack. But I do want to differentiate that coordination is a different problem than orchestration. And
Mhm.
the way I would sort of explain or define that is integration for me is just making sure that each of your tools are talking to each other, that they are connected to each other, right? So that's like
Correct.
the absolute table stakes, right? So that's what integration does. Orchestration is the next step of that. That really says, hey, I want this process to happen, and I want it to happen in a very specific sequence, right? So you want A to happen first, and then B, and then C, in terms of how the customer sees a particular campaign or how the customer sees a particular promotion, right? That the customer should see this promotion maybe on an email first, and when they click the email, they should come on the homepage, and they should also surface on the homepage. So it's more about orchestrating or executing what you want to do. Coordination to me is very different. Coordination to me is saying, hey, in real time, right? When you have multiple of these tools firing different independently great or independently right decisions, and if those decisions conflict with each other or they are undercutting each other, then how do you arbitrate and how
Yeah.
do you decide what wins and why does it win? So to me, coordination is about deciding, and integration
Orchestration,
orchestration is
well,
more
distribution,
about making sure it
coordination.
happens.
I like it. The coordination. You're right. This means that
Right.
the very complex, by the way, challenge, right? Is like
Yeah.
coordination. You mean you will finally decide, those kind of algorithm will decide what is actually customer really need, and it's
Yeah.
not on any of those tool decide. It's technically this stuff. A quick one,
Absolutely.
maybe tricky
Yeah.
question. But when the teams probably start using those, understand that Amazon now has the coordination layer,
Hmm.
and they probably will try to kind of tweak this engine, to get winning faster. Do you have any kind of
Right.
uh, insights here? Like, because as an engineer, it's like, okay, if I know now I have the coordination layer, but I will try
Right.
to understand his algorithm, try to kind of, doesn't say brute force, but kind of tweak him to get my advertising coming alongside others. Like
Right.
any
Right.
challenge?
So yes, in some ways, I think teams could already be doing this in specific use cases or specific situations, etc. But the point really, Alex, is this, right? Um, you still want the customer to win and the enterprise to win, right? The point
Correct.
is not to tweak a tool or not to tweak a situation so that one point tool wins in that situation. The point is, did that provide the best experience to the customer, and did the enterprise win as a result of that, right? So I'll give an example. So, and this is something that anybody can try within the next 1 minute, right? So go to any e-commerce site and try searching for any product, right? Search for any product that you might be wanting to buy at this point of time, right? And what you would see happening within 200 to 300 milliseconds is the search engine will try and understand your search intent, right? And give you some organic search results, right? To match what you're trying to search for. On the same search page, you will also see different tools and different widgets firing at the same time, right? So you will also see, for example, an ad tool that is firing some sponsored products, right? On the same
Mhm.
page. They're trying to understand what you're searching for and giving you recommendations for some ad products or sponsored products. That came from a bidding system, where different brands, would have, placed a bid for
I
those
just want to
words,
say, place the bet.
right? And exactly, and that got surfaced, right? Third, you would possibly have a recommendation widget that says, hey, customers like you also shop for this, or customers who bought this also bought this, right? And those are the different kinds of recommendation models that would be running on that page, right? So now you have a search engine trying to give you search products that is trying to optimize on relevancy. You have an ad tool that is trying to give you some sponsored products, but it is
Yeah,
trying to
the
optimize
optimization
for
CR, right?
ad
Building it.
revenue, right? Now you have
Mhm.
a third tool, which is a recommendation tool that is trying to optimize for conversion and trying to recommend some products to you. And maybe there is a promotion tool also that fires some promotion on top of that page, right? So the same page, you have this 4 or 5 different systems firing at the same time. And the way to think about this is, if you have a situation where, say, the same product is fired by 2 or 3 systems on that same page, right? So maybe the same products comes from the organic search tool. The same product also comes from the ad tool because it won in the bidding process, and the same product also comes in the recommendation widget because it's a great product and the widget wants to recommend that to you, right? The point is, you as a retailer now lost the opportunity to have shown 2 more products to the customer and drive more discovery instead of showing the same product 3 times.
Interesting. From the engineering perspective, the all algorithm was right. They find the most relevant product, right, etc. But
Absolutely.
Now I don't want to see all of on those three different places same product. I want to see the variability. Oh wow, interesting. It's really complex. I just start
Yeah.
thinking together. You're
But
like,
the point
wow.
is, Alex, like each of those tools and their dashboard will show green. So the search dashboard will tell you, hey, I fired the relevant products. The recommendation dashboard will tell you, I fired products that drive conversion. And the ad dashboard will tell you, saying, hey, I placed the right bids and the right product showed up on that surface. The point was that was not the best experience for the customer. Or you, the retailer, lost the opportunity to have driven more products, better discovery, and maybe more conversion as a result.
Tell me, please, like how you again. Now I understand each tool I can measure. Like I measure, you're
Mhm.
right. I can measure my ad tool on a CTR, the relevance,
Right,
search engine relevance. But how to
right.
measure your coordinator? Like how you end up saying back to those teams, guys, we build this coordinator right now, and it's better for our customers. Any give us some kind of maybe something under the blanket, like how's like really you sell it. I know how hard, like in Amazon is
Right.
very strong organization, it's really hard to push forward any new initiatives. Then how you guys measure, how you by the end of the day decided like this is a good thing to do and going
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely. The first step to sort of do this would be measurement, which is to really understand the kind of conflicts that are happening on your page. So we could start with any one surface, say the home page, or we could start with the search page or the search page type, and then say, hey, let's first understand what kind of conflicts are happening in your stack, right? So whether the conflict is between the search tool and the ad tool, or the conflict is between the search tool, ad tool versus the recommendation tool, or whether different types of promo tools are conflicting with each other. So we could actually start with one page and do like a coordination audit to really understand what kind of conflicts are happening. And second, put a dollar value to that, which is what it is costing you, right? My estimate is all of these kind of conflicts that we talked about, they are costing retailers anywhere between 2% to 5% of their GMV. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, for $1 billion retailer, that is $20 to $50 million per year. That is value that you are either leaving on the table because you lost the opportunity to do something better in that moment, or you are leaking value because your pricing system and the promo system and the loyalty system did not coordinate with each other, and they are working against each other versus working together.
Yeah, but if I hear you correctly, for example, if we let's use the same example that you
Mhm.
the search page. I know that Google, for example, they optimized to even despite everyone speaking, but I know they was always optimizing that people should spend less time on search. I mean,
Right.
the optimization target was that you find something what you need and go immediately to the website. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and for this measure, Rahul, like
Mhm.
that's what's like for you, if we talk about customer, I feel like I still
Right.
need to measure somehow the customer satisfaction by the end of the day,
Mhm.
not like
Mhm.
conversion rate or no sales items or margin
Right.
level, right? Should
Right.
be some customer. But yeah,
Yes.
what is your thoughts here?
So in this particular case, the way I think about this is this should be your enterprise goals, right? First of all, not the tool level goals. So I would care more about driving, for example, either revenue or margin or lifetime value, like whatever goals you have as an enterprise, and
Hmm.
that should be the measure of success, or whether the decision that we made was the right decision or not, versus a tool level metric like relevancy or conversion or click through rate, right? So you're essentially trying to optimize for what the enterprise would want to do in the moment versus what a tool would want to measure in that particular silo. So that's the first distinction, right? And the second essentially is to then look at all of these situations or conflicting areas that we talked about, and then say, hey, in this particular situation, what would drive the best outcome for that particular enterprise goal? So it is essentially your enterprise strategy that IORA, which is the product I'm building, is going to execute. So we essentially build a mechanism for you to execute your strategy. So let's take your example, right? The pricing example that we talked about. So in that particular case, where you had the pricing engine recommending, say, $190 worth of price for the winter jacket example, right? And then you had these three different promotions firing from three different systems, one from promo team, one from loyalty team, one from category team. The question I would go back is to these teams or to the enterprise and say, hey, what would you want to have happen? So you tell us what should have happened in that particular case, right? So if you say, hey, I need a way for each of these systems to have awareness of the other, and
Mhm.
then to drive either stacking of these promotions, right? So yes, I want these promotions to stack. So the customer will now be able to buy them for $116 versus the intended price of $190. Or if you don't want them to stack, in the current situation, what might happen is now it becomes the customer's problem to figure out which promo code to apply at the checkout. Versus your strategy could be, if you have conflicting promos, then I want this particular promotion to win, and then you suppress the other, right? And that's the execution layer that we're trying to build on top of this, which is to say, understand your policy, your strategy, and then make it executable in the moment.
I lost you on the stacking. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and
So the point I was explaining there, and very quickly, is the example that we talked about, right? So pricing said $190, three different promotions. The point is, um, what is that you should want to happen, right? So if you think the promotions is stack, then we make them stack in a particular way, and that is what the decision layer or the coordination layer will actually execute.
cool.
But
This. Mhm.
yeah, but if you don't want them to stack, currently what might be happening is maybe each of these teams only wrote a rule saying, hey, the promotion should not stack. But the impact is that it becomes now the customer's problem to figure out which promotion or which promo code to apply during checkout. Now, instead
Yeah.
of that becoming the customer's problem, the coordination engine could actually determine which is the best promotion for the
You
customer
actually
in that
coordinating,
moment.
you managing those coordination engine,
Exactly.
and they will define and can be, as I hear you correctly, it can work on the business will. And even like we're not big organization, but even in the 100 people team, sometimes it's so hard to really align on something, because you're right.
Exactly.
Even in small teams, they slightly, the corporation became, like they call it, like too political, that people optimize for their
Right.
own will rather than the
Right.
customer. And I feel like the coordination, what I hear from you, Rahul, is a very nice way to think about the coordination engine algorithm, what actually sitting on the back, he feel the customer, he
Right.
listen to the business, and actually he can give a signal back for the pricing system, for search system, for etc. Because there's only one kind of source of truth, what's important for the customer. And it,
Right.
like the whole teams need to agree that we believe those coordination engine, and better we will tune the coordination engine rather than tune each system separately. And if business
Exactly.
want LTV, by the way, this most of the, I know that Google for years optimizing only for LTV, and especially their
Right.
stores. If we talk about
Right.
Google e-commerce, they say, guys, we don't care. We really predict the customer, they want what they want, and we're optimizing for LTV, not for like margin or sales amount, because this is
Exactly.
not long term. Is like will kill the company. Yeah,
Yeah.
if
But
you
the point
optimize
is,
for.
you decide that as the enterprise, right? This is not something that the tool is going to optimize for. You decide what your strategy is. The tool is going to optimize and make executable what your strategy is. So essentially, start with measurement. In terms of what the current conflicts are, what are they costing you? Ask questions about what would you want to do instead in those situations, right? So we sort of come in with a cold start policy pack that already has learned from the domain understanding, but then we add your own intelligence on top of that, and then we make it executable in these real time real moments, right? And then as we capture more data, the system becomes more intelligent, so that it can now start predicting what you should do if a similar conflict happens in a different situation, right? So it could, instead of just executing your policy, the system would actually inform you saying, hey, in this particular situation, this kind of promotion works better for this customer versus the other kind of promotion. And therefore, what I recommend is that we suppress any other promotion and only fire this one promotion instead of confusing the customer with three promotions, right? So you're also trying to make intelligent decisions about what is that is going to get you to maximize your enterprise goals, right? Where each of your sophisticated
Absolutely
point
makes
systems
sense.
are doing what they're doing, but then you add an added intelligence or a coordination on top of that to saying, how do I now get these really brilliant tools to work well with each other so that the
Correct.
enterprise wins?
what I feel again right now with the era of AI, even before, I like e-commerce players was tend to install so much things, and they actually tested in the isolation. This one
Right,
more thing, for example, this basket level dynamic promotion, whatever. What honestly, when I come to this, okay, guys, will you just make this 20% cut of my basket? Who paid
right,
for this? Can you show me
exactly,
the margin? Commercial teams is not ours, is not is marketing. When you come to marketing, marketing is a commercial team. We just
right,
marketing. We're optimizing for CR conversion
right,
rates. It's like,
right.
guys, come on. And then we need to have a margin one, margin two, margin three, and the finance team is destroyed. What is your, just to finalizing maybe this morning call is so
Yeah,
interesting, bro. It's like really cool. What is your kind of prediction, and maybe like where's like this all coming to? Do you feel like e-commerce understand this and they implementing, like just give us like maybe some kind of your look on the future, and especially
yeah,
from the angle, like imagine like right now numbers of the tools with AI will appear more and more, like
mhm,
new AI advertising tool with like dynamic ads or whatever. And
right.
what do you feel like how retailers need to really approach this properly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm saying we absolutely need the point tools. We absolutely need the best in class tools, right? Because they allow us to drive each function in the best manner possible. So we absolutely need the best search tool, the best pricing tool. But I do see the need for this coordination layer as well for two reasons. One is as AI makes each of these point tools smarter and faster, I see two things happening in the current stack, right? So one is the point tools will start hitting a point of diminishing returns very soon, right? So the
Mhm.
incrementality that you would see from trying to improve your search or improve your personalization or improve your recommendation will start to slow down and start
Yeah.
to sort of see diminishing returns there. The second thing that will happen is as these point tools get more faster, the kind of conflicts that you're seeing will become even more, and they will happen within 100 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, where retailers don't have the observability for something like this, right? And I see the conflicts increasing and the value leakage that is happening because of this only going up. So that's one thing in the current stack. But looking at where commerce is going, right, where we're talking about agentic commerce and customers going on agentic surfaces and trying to drive discovery.
Contextual search, that people not searching right now with using AI, they're not searching on
Right,
the Pulse website saying, give me a red dress. They also, I want the dress as Dua Lipa weird in the last concert. This they're
right,
kind of, they want to kind of, our search honestly is so behind. When you in
right.
the shop, you actually asking some, I need a tool to open my, I cannot know how to name it. I say, I need a tool to open my winery bottle. And they need to
Exactly.
understand, this is what users, I feel like, are changing their behavior, because they speak with your e-commerce store is more for our audience as they speak with ChatGPT. Guys, this is
Exactly.
already there.
Exactly. Exactly.
They don't have to
Exactly.
say,
But in that
red
surface,
dress.
Alex, exactly. But in that surface, on a ChatGPT surface, imagine this, right? We talked about coordination failures and the value leakage that happens on your own surfaces today as an e-commerce player or a retailer, right? But on a different surface, you have no ownership of a chat gpt surface, right? You can't
Correct.
determine what shows up where and how, right? So now your problems are even more compounding, right? The situation that could happen is if a customer searches for the same product on a chat gpt, the chat gpt engine is going to fire that query to maybe 10 retailers and then say, hey, what do you have for this particular search intent that my customer has right now, right? What can you give me? Now, in the current situation, when that query comes to you as the retailer, what's going to happen is you're going to take 10 products from search, 3 products from ad, 2 products from recommendation, two promotions and from the conversion team and the promo team and the loyalty team, and just return that back to the agent,
Yeah.
right? Now
And
that's not intelligent. That is just a dump of data, right? And now either of these situations could happen, right? So one is now the agent has to determine what to surface. So they might end up surfacing the wrong mix of product and promotion. In that case, you sort of lose as the retailer, or they will end up showcasing a competitor's product and you again lose in that situation, right? So what you need is to be able to have a coordination and conflict resolution before that goes to the engine, before a customer sees it, right? So you are responding back with the best combination of product promotion, recommendations, or promise delivery speed, etc. Was there showcasing that dump of data back to an agent and hoping that you get
something
showed
something
or
happens.
surface in that
I
particular case.
saw I was like guys last week on the some kind of private, like it was a commerce payment from, like,
Right.
it was Stripe engineer, Amazon engineer, and one was OpenAI head of
Mhm.
R&D development community, etc. It's like very close, and of course, it's a huge guys. The market for future commerce, they start thinking right now. They think of the security layer, of course, to give your credentials, credit card, etc. To
Right.
AI, to your agent that can shop for you. Because
Mhm.
honestly, it's very annoying, especially if it's not maybe for commerce buying. Is like some entertainment, right? You love to buy, etc. But for example, when you're booking the hotel, etc., this is really annoying. The people don't want really give an agent stuff to go select and buy, because right now the agent can actually search for you, but they can't buy. And yeah,
Right.
and already Shopify gives all the technically the exposed XML, the huge kind of all their products what they have with some kind of content. And right now the ChatGPT is making those vectorized knowledge about those assortment and trying to get the most relevant thing to the customer. But guys, just so thinking, I feel like it is definitely happening, and maybe you need the coordination layer as well there, but also start thinking about that users, even before they will sign a ChatGPT. I still feel like we have a couple years here, maybe less, but they already, those teenagers who come into your store, they will not accept this old school searching experience. They want
Exactly.
to act with your store and start thinking about those kind of MCP. I feel like again, MCP is the future, like, of the internet, right? That means
Yeah.
that your search will work contextual. That you can say, "Hey, I'm have a party in this year, this week, and my home, and on this kind of on country topic or mafia from 90s, and I need to show them a products what actually fit to this intent, like immediately, like, and translating this is where I feel is already kind of they ask this, what they come, the e-commerce, agent commerce is coming, but it's not there. But what is already come, that people, even OpenAI shared, they wasn't satisfied with those first results. You see, it was very noisy. Oh, shopping through agents, now is everyone quiet. Whereas quiet
Right.
is like, it's no results there what they everyone want to show, because people still you're right, they go just pick up five product from the Google search and saying this is what you need to buy. This is not how people shop, right? And but this is, if you one of the e-commerce leading guys like Amazon, Kohl's, etc., you will start thinking about those contextualized search and orchestration of the intent. I feel like this is a good way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
If I can leave with the audience with one last thing, it is this, right? So the last decade of retail technology or commerce technology was about getting each individual tool to be as smart as possible, right? So we succeeded in that. We have we have really smart pricing engines, and you're building one, Alex. So you know about this, right? So we have great pricing engines. We have great search engines. They have got smarter. The ad platforms have got smarter. To me, the next decade is going to be about how do we get these smart tools to really work together with each other in service of the enterprise, in service of the customer, right? So really the retailers or the commerce companies that would, in my opinion, win in the next decade will be the ones who build this coordination layer and understand the importance of coordinating before the
this
customer
definitely.
sees your
And the
response.
numbers of the tools that you mentioned, this kind of, they will be just growing with this AI era. Is
Exactly.
like small thing. Yeah, guys, thank you so much, Rahul, for joining. Please follow Rahul. He also sharing a lot of cool stuff. And the coordination is definitely what we all need yesterday, not even today,
Right.
yesterday. Yeah, please follow Rahul. And yeah, if you already have a huge, is this something what we saw today resonate, please outreach to Rahul directly. Yeah, and I feel he will be happy to help you at least start thinking about the right direction. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Rahul.
Thanks for the conversation. Thanks, Alex. And find me on LinkedIn, Rahul Chaudhary. Great to have the conversation here.
Perfect.